history with Julia Steele moderating.
Aloha.
Aloha, Geno. So we're in the second hour now, and it's been 3 or 4 days. Today is actually August 31st of 2020. Right. And we're just about to have a full moon. Did you see, the moon probably hasn't risen yet where you are.
Not quite.
I'm in Washington State, so I'm 3 hours ahead of you, and I just saw it come up, and it was magnificent.
Yeah, I think you have a better view of the moon from there right now.
Yeah. What's your earliest memory of the moon?
Oh. I always loved to watch the moon. And we didn't have any smog yet. So, I don't know, it was, you know, I look forward to nighttime if the moon comes out. And, is part of your world. No special references. I remember I was in the Boy Scouts, and we used to go up on these excursions in the mountains, and I would play Nature Boy, and everybody would try and find me, and I'd hide in caves and remember the moonlight with all the light that we had to see by. It was a lot of fun.
Do you remember that song by Nat King Cole, Nature Boy?
Nature Boy, yeah.
Yeah, that would have come out just about when you were a teenager, huh? And
yeah.
A guy right in this exact part of the world, or in Southern California, where you could have inspired that song.
Yeah, I could relate to Nature Boy.
Yeah.
My grandpa had a place up in the San Gabriel Mountains, and it was so nice. Huge granite rocks that were, 10 tons. And the creek would run right through the stones. And we'd lay out there and sunbathe, because the creek water was so cold. You had to lay on a nice warm stone to get warm again.
It sounds so wonderful. So when we finished off the last time, we were talking a little bit about your early experiences with the arts, and we talked about movies, but what about music? What about music that you remember as a young person, what you remember hearing and what you were drawn to?
Oh, well, I was very much into jazz, and I used to, I guess when I was like in the 9th grade, I'd cut school and go downtown LA to the Orpheum Theater, and I'd see Lionel Hampton and Duke Ellington, and they'd have a movie, and then the performance, and so that was really cool. And I remember Bull Moose Jackson. Oh my! And my favorite saxophone player was Illinois Jacquet, and he played in the Jazz at the Philharmonic. That was a series of recordings.
That's amazing, Geno. So did you saw Duke Ellington live?
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I mean, how cool is it? I mean, sitting down in the front row of the theater and seeing the full Duke Ellington and his orchestra, and I think there was some black singer that used to come on with him. I can't remember right now, but
Would
that
it
was
have been
super.
Sarah Vaughan or maybe Sarah Vaughan or Ella Fitzgerald or?
No, I was a real Sarah Vaughan fan, but and I'd seen Ella in concert there in LA, and I remember one time she whipped out this little harmonica out of her pocket and played a few bars and sang. It was really fun.
Who do you remember who was the saxophone player in Duke Ellington's band when you saw him?
No, but Illinois Jacquet was my favorite sax player, and Flip Phillips, and they played in jazz at the Philharmonic. It was a special session, and then the two of them would be playing together, one against the other, and they keep going higher and higher and higher. It was wonderful for me at that age. I thought these guys were the best.
Yeah. What was the greatest concert that you ever saw when you were young?
Oh, wow. Well, you see, these guys would appear at the $1 Million Theater. They'd have a movie, and then this orchestra would come on, and they kept changing orchestras about once a month to give everybody a chance to have some work. And the big concerts, I really, before I came to Hawaii, I went to see Ella Fitzgerald, and she was just tremendous at the Philharmonic in LA, and she was really great. And of course, the band that backed her up too. All the best musicians were there. And later on, when I lived in Marin County, I used to take in concerts over in Berkeley, and there was some, like the Four Amigos and Santana,
The Gypsy Kings.
and oh yeah, the Gypsy Kings. Yeah, they were really hot.
So do you play any instruments, Geno?
Oh yeah, I play bass. I used to play in my steakhouse when Wayne McNichol was my bassist, and sometimes Wayne would have too much to drink, and so he'd have to go sit down. I go fill in for him, and pretty soon I just started playing. My former wife bought me a brand new bass, and so I started playing at the restaurant. So, but after the dining room was shut down, we just have a piano bar, and sometimes. Oh, and then I used to have this Glenn Willis, a tenor sax player. He used to play on weekends. Glenn was beautiful. He really had a lot of beautiful sounds in his tenor sax. I miss those days.
Freddie Norton.
Yeah, Freddie Norton was on piano.
What's that noise in the background?
That's my wife scraping a carrot.
Okay, I didn't know if you could hear that. I'm peeling carrots to make carrot tomato soup.
Okay.
I guess I'll stop.
Okay. So with the bass, playing the bass, were you self-taught or did you have lessons?
No, I just listen to, the sound of bass, and when I play with a piano, well, you kind of had a sound guide to follow, and I picked it up pretty easy.
So you play bass, you play piano?
No, I didn't play piano. I mean, I attempted to play piano because my grandmother was a music teacher, but I never got started with my grandma.
Okay.
Most of her music was classic anyway, but my aunt, her daughter, she was a fantastic pianist, and that was my mom's sister, Eleanor.
Hmm. Did your sister play any instruments?
No, my sister never played any instrument. I think she hit me over the head with a violin once. If you want to call that playing.
That's a very generous use of the term playing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So tell me, Geno, about your first job.
My first job.
Yeah. How old were you and what was it?
Oh, I think I was about 10 years old, and I had spent the summer in a summer camp with 9 other boys, and that's what was the Seventh Day Adventist camp, and so that's when I really first got into vegetarian food. And my job, I used to get 25 cents an hour, and I would cut the grass and take care of the horses. There were 3 horses that I had to feed and look after, make sure they had water. And I never did ride those horses because they belonged to this very wealthy fellow that had this ranch where the caretaker family was who I was with.
Mm.
Anyway, it was good old days. That was probably 1941.
And was that really I know how much you love horses. Was that really your first time around horses?
Yeah, it was. And I remember we never had any horses around growing up in Southern California. And I think the other one of the jobs I got was pin setting. My sister and her boyfriend used to like to go bowling, and if they took me along with them, that I could go set pins for them, and they wouldn't have to pay somebody to do it. So, it was okay. I didn't mind. I enjoyed just, having a job setting pins. But
And did they pay you anything for that, or did you just get bowling for free?
no, I do it for them for free, but I don't think I ever did it professionally for a living. If anything, I mean, I remember my paper route was kind of my first job, and I used to. I think I used to sell these ladies' home journal magazines. I had a magazine route, and then I thought, well, I might as well graduate to newspapers and make more money than, selling magazines. So. I think I had the largest paper route in Glendale, and
And what paper were you
over
delivering?
300 newspapers every day I had to deliver by hand on my bicycle.
Wow, that's a lot of weight, 300 papers.
Yeah. And of course, on Sundays, I'd have them spot them in 2 different places because it was just too much. And I could get them all in my double bag of the daily papers. It was for the LA Examiner. And the route was in Glendale, and I lived right on the border of Los Angeles County and Glendale County.
And so is that the paper that you were delivering, the Los Angeles Examiner?
Right, right.
And how long did you do that for?
Oh, probably about 3 years.
Okay. Wait, and these were your teenage years?
Well, it was like junior high school,
Okay.
7th, 8th, 9th grade.
Can we go back to, I just want to ask you about that experience of working with the horses, your very first job. What is it that you love about horses? Why do you love horses so much?
Well, they're very beautiful and strong, and they were vegetarians. I don't know. I think I probably had some past sanskaras with horses, but they all seemed to take a liking to me right away, and they let me brush them and comb their mane, and I could just put a little rope around their necks without putting a bit in their mouth or anything, and they'd follow me anywhere I wanted to take them. And so, you know, I guess because I was not rough with them, and they know that I was friendly, that they wanted to be the same. And I always enjoyed strange horses, other people's horses. I just had a natural rapport with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the paper route, and you did that for about 3 years. And then, that makes me think about when you're saying 300 papers every day and then these big Sunday papers.
Yeah.
Of course, thinking of you, with all of your rocks, I think of you as a very, very physically strong person. And is that what you were like as a young man, as a teenager? Were you very, very kind of active? Did you do
Oh,
sports?
yeah, definitely. And like in running, when I got into high school or junior high school, I can't remember that part, but I used to be able to run that 220 easy, and I could beat the whole class. And the 300, maybe it was a little harder because you got that extra 100 yards to go when you're running, sprinting. But I enjoyed it.
Were you on the track team for your school?
I didn't go out for track. I don't know. I used to be in all the sports, but when it came to school superintendents and rules and regulations, I kind of wasn't interested.
Yeah, that makes sense. That seems, so it was more, you would play maybe with your friends.
Yeah.
But not in a disciplined or organized way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, what was your very favorite thing to do when you were growing up?
Mm. Well, I liked to go hiking and, exploring in new places. And then when I finally got a bicycle, well, I could expand my horizons. And from where we lived on the Glendale, LA border, I used to ride my bicycle all the way to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And that was quite a wide, kind of long bike ride. And we'd go to other way out to Griffith Park, where all the beautiful zoo is out there. Yeah, when kids used to go long distances, and sometimes the chain would snap or come off the track, and you'd have to rethread it in order to make it home. And it was fun.
Let me ask you, kind of just connected with all of that. Did you feel largely safe in the world? Did you feel safe as a child?
A face.
No, safe.
Oh, safe.
Did you feel safe?
Yeah, I pretty much felt safe. My folks had split up, and I had a sister, and she leaned on me a lot. She was older, but I always felt safe. And
Because it sounds like even as a young person, you moved very freely through the world,
mhm,
going, going on long bike rides and going to see jazz concerts and taking the bus way out to the beach. And
yeah, yeah,
it seems like you were very confident in your freedom to move around where you lived.
yeah. I felt pretty confident. I mean, what was there to be afraid of? Although my sister was always, uh, she was afraid of my stepfather, and I'd always tell her, "Oh, it's okay," And they get it. My mom and my stepfather would get into fights, and to get banged around once in a while. And my sister was, always just scared, and I'd had to be her comforter and say, it's okay," and I don't remember having any fear of my own. Just it's life, and you might as well go through it.
Yeah. So what year did you graduate from high school?
What year did I graduate?
From high school.
1950.
1950.
Yeah,
What was happening in the world
I
in that?
graduated in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can you describe that?
Well, like the Rose Bowl was it. And the only other competition was like the Coliseum in LA. But the Rose Bowl, had a lot of history for the parade, the New Year's Day parade. It would be 2 or 3 miles long, and we'd go there early in the morning and sit on the curb, have our seats all picked out. Horses would come through, and they'd poop in the street, and marching bands, and you know, just one thing after another. That Rose Parade was really super when you were there live, you know.
So would you go to that every year as a
Oh yeah,
child?
my sister and I would go together and we'd sit on the curb. You know, like we'd get there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the parade wouldn't start probably till about 8 or 9. But we had our spaces picked out. That was something we really look forward to every year.
And so when when you graduated in the Rose Bowl,
Hmm.
how did you feel? Did you have a lot of friends in high school? Were you very social?
Well, actually, I got expelled in, I think it was my senior year. Could have, maybe, you know, I'm not sure whether it was the 11th or 12th grade, but I was going to Glendale High School, and so I had to go change schools, and my dad was living in Pasadena, so I went to Pasadena Junior College to finish my senior year. That's why I graduated in the Rose Bowl. So,
Why did you get expelled, Geno?
well, I mean, I wasn't really bad, but I had this one teacher that he just didn't like me, and I didn't like him. And uh, he he failed me in U.S. history, I think it was, and then I had to go to summer school to take it over again, and he was teaching summer school, and he failed me in summer school. So, you know, I kind of had it in for him, and so I ended up going to night school so I could, you know, get a passing grade to get so I could graduate. And I don't know, it was some strange karma, but you know, I guess I wasn't the most obedient student, and I may have overstepped my freedom, uh, you know, for some of the people that were teaching. And I mean, you would think that there'd be two sides, you know, where I get an A or an F. Anyway,
Okay, so you took US history and he failed you, and
right,
then you took it from the same guy, the same course, and he failed you a second time.
right.
And then you went to night school, but how did you actually wind up getting expelled? Did things come to a head?
Gosh. Well, I just having a memory loss a little bit there, but
Maybe it was a traumatic memory.
yeah, it was a little hard adjusting to my stepfather because he was in the Marine Corps, and he also became a policeman,
Mm.
and he was pretty strict. And here I was just happy-go-lucky and never got in any real trouble, but we didn't really share any love with one another, let's say.
Well, from everything you've said, that's very understandable. I mean, you were very close to your sister, and this was a
Right.
man who frightened your sister. Yeah.
So I just, I squeaked through. I mean, when I get all these A's in all these other classes, and this one teacher couldn't figure me out because it was just a personal thing between us.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, you just roll with the punches and hope to get out of school as soon as you can.
Yeah. Well, what about your classmates? Were you popular with the ladies?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of lady friends and a lot of male friends. I was kind of like in the 5th and 6th grade, I'd clown around a lot and make people laugh.
Were you sort of one of the beloved characters of the class?
Right.
Yeah. And so then there you are, and you've graduated from high school. And did you go on to college?
Yes, I did go on Pasadena City College, and gosh, all this memory trying to remember everything, but yeah, I went on. I think I got a half a year of college, and then my uncle lived in San Clemente, my mother's brother, and he was raising a lot of chinchillas, which were very popular at the time, and he had about 30 pairs. And so he asked me if I could come to San Clemente and help him take care of them. And so I thought, well, that's a good excuse to leave the nest and go down and start a new role in San Clemente. And of course, they were very expensive animals, and he had invested several thousands of dollars, and he needs somebody that he could depend on. And of course, being a relative too, that worked out really nice. And so I never kept going back to school. And one thing led to another, and I got involved in the fishing industry. Besides being a chinchilla rancher.
What were they like, the chinchillas?
Oh, they were just like little rabbits. And that their fur was so soft that you could put your hand on it and you'd be into the fur and you still couldn't feel it yet. It was so soft.
Wow.
And
would you just hold them up against your cheek sometimes?
Yeah, you could do that, but you had to be careful they don't bite you. But
were they
had
pretty
these little wheels that we put in the cage, and they'd get on the wheel and they'd be running and running and running, and then I'd turn the light on and it'd all stop, and then I'd turn the light off again. They'd start running again in their little cages. And we had a whole huge room full of them, the whole building full.
God. And so it was your uncle, right?
Right.
Who was raising them for fur?
Right. And my folks had a couple pairs also that they used to have at home. So I'd already kind of known how to take care of them. So I
So
could.
was it hard for you when they would be killed for their fur?
Well, I never got around to that part of it where I had to kill them and pelt them. That it was always sort of like a breeding market. You will see how many chinchillas you can produce.
Mm-hmm.
And, worry about the pelts later.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just thinking that even if you didn't have to kill them or worry about the pelts, just knowing that they were being raised.
Yeah, we were just trying to raise as many as you can make.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess you were fishing too, right? So in other words, I know that now as part of your spiritual path, I don't think you would be fishing or raising chinchillas
Right.
but so that's what I think I was just trying to get at. Did you have an intimation of uneasiness with it, or were you still at a point where it just was fine?
Oh, I managed to have fun with it, and I wasn't going to kill them and pelt them. Uh, that would be something part of it I didn't want to take part of.
Right.
But as far as being a caretaker and seeing that they're healthy and fed, and that was fun. It's like ranching, you know what I mean? But didn't have to do any of the pelting work.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about the fishing. How you got into fishing.
Oh, wow. Like I said, I was staying in San Clemente at my uncle's chinchilla farm, and we had a big storm. And so there was a barge, Dixie, called the Dixie, and it ran aground in San Clemente up on the beach. And so the whole town showed up to, see if they could help get this boat back on out into the sea. And so, all the high mucky mucks were trying to decide how to best do this. And so I suggested to him, why don't you get a bulldozer and we'll run a bow line to the boat, to ground, and when the tide changes, we can pull it and get the hull turned around back towards the ocean, to sea. And so it worked. And so they thought I was a real hero. And the guy that owned the barge Dixie offered me a job of skippering this fishing operation. So one thing led to another, and I think this the following year I went to work on a charter boat that was for Oscar Simon, and the name of the boat was the Cyclurus. And so he was sport fishing, and there was just, I was the deckhand, he was the captain. And we'd have about 15 to 20 people for a charter to take them out fishing, trolling, and sometimes you'd come in and fish the kelp beds, but mostly it was for the albacore season. And so Oscar and I became good friends, and I fished with him the following year, and it was a lot of fun. I'd worked on the bait boat, and a little boat called the Dixie 2. I went to San Clemente Island, commercial fishing lobster one winter, and boy, that was a trip.
Wow.
Well, we got into a storm out there, and the swells were so big. They were like 50, 60 feet high. And we had to go down these troughs. And then you'd be looking at, You have to climb the other mountain that's coming towards you, you know.
Oh my God.
Uh,
What did that feel like?
that was something. I had bad dreams about that.
Yeah. How long did the storm last? How long were you in that?
Um, How long was that?
How
What?
long did the storm last? How long, did that go on for 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours or?
Oh, in order to get through those huge swells, it would take about 12 to 15 minutes. You know, as a wave crest and you're riding it over the top and down again. Oh, spooky.
But how long did the whole experience last?
Oh, well, I was over there um, only a couple of days in those troughs, and then we got to the other side of the island and held out over there. And meantime, we'd gone ashore, and it's a military island, San Clemente Island. And so we broke an oil line and we came into the pier that there's only one pier on this whole island. It's all military. And so we gave a sack of lobsters to the guy that was in charge of the island. And he he came and told us anything we want, just name it. We'll fix. So he fixed our fuel line and got us back in business, you know, so we could hang out on the opposite side of the island when the tides had changed. And it was something else.
Wow. But so it was actually a couple of days that you were in waves like that? It lasted that long?
Well, I mean, if you went to that part of the island, I mean, we got through there in a couple of hours, but in the meantime, wow, it was spooky sailing.
Yeah.
And even you could see this destroyer, it'd come up out of the water and the props would be exposed and then go on over this huge swells.
Are those the biggest waves you've ever been in your life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, huge, a couple 100 feet.
And how big was the boat that you were on?
42 feet.
Wow. Wow. Was that at that age, did you feel like, that you might die and where was,
I don't know. I mean, you know, you're right on the edge and you're wondering if, is this it or what, you know?
yeah.
Where nature was just completely, you're out of control. Nothing you can do except ride it
Yeah.
and see where it takes you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was how you got into fishing. And
Yeah.
so you graduated in the Rose Bowl and then you went to Pasadena City College for not too long.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went into chinchillas and fishing. One thing about Pasadena City College, what were you taking art classes there? What sorts of things were you doing there?
While I was in school, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. I started collecting cars, and I had about 6 or 7 cars, and I had them all at my grandma's house in Alhambra, and she thought that was okay because it made it look like a man lived there, and my grandpa had passed away, and gave her some feeling of security. And then we used to cut them up and it was in the scrap metal business for a while. And so we'd run all this Steele downtown LA, and the guy that ran the place liked me, and I'd get a good price for the metal. And I was with another fellow who was from Pasadena, and he was a black guy, and we hit it off together. He had this huge truck to haul it with, and I came up with all these cars and stuff, and so we kind of partnered in the scrap business. That was pretty good. And that was another chapter.
Yeah. Was that simultaneous to going to college?
Yeah, and I was going to college at the time.
Yeah.
And then my cousin and I, we started a little business venture of our own where my dad had a print shop. And so he let us use his print shop to do whatever we felt like doing. And we started doing all these ladies' stationery. And we give you a choice of color of what color you would like to have your stationery, the paper. And then we would print your name and address on there on the envelope. And you had choices of color ink. And we used to get all of our supplies from Zellerbach in Los Angeles. And so he was going to Caltech, and I was going to Pasadena City College.
Mm-hmm.
So on the weekends, we used to get together at my dad's place and print all of these stationery that we ordered. And my mom worked at this Aerojet or some fancy rocket place, and every woman that was there ordered a box of stationery, and we had a nice little business going on the side. And then I was thinking, on the weekends I'd be collecting junk and copper and brass and whatever we could get our hands on, and take it downtown and sell it.
And Geno, where were you living at that time? Were you still living at home, or had you moved out?
No, I think I was living with my grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're fishing, you're on the sea, and is that what led you to Hawaii? What happened after the fishing?
Well, trying to put it all together here.
What year did you arrive in Hawaii?
1957.
Okay, so there were a few years still. So you left. Were you in Los Angeles up until 1957? Did you go anywhere else?
Well, no, I was living in San Clemente, and
Okay.
then I migrated to
San Clemente in Northern California?
no, Southern California,
Right.
right next to Laguna Beach.
Okay. I guess, I think of all of that as Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, Orange County is big
Yeah.
county besides LA County. And yeah, so I was living in Laguna Beach, and my dad had talked me into, they were starting a newspaper in Laguna Beach called the Laguna Beach Post. And he got a job to be the foreman of this printing department. And so he said I should get off the water and get a trade under my belt and have a future. Can't be out there fishing all your life, you know. So I did. I started apprenticing in the shop that my dad was the superintendent. And I was with that newspaper until I left to go to Hawaii.
And what were you doing?
Well, I got married and we're just having a artist life in Laguna Beach. I was involved with the Festival of Arts program that they have annually there. And I used to paint, and then I got into pottery. I learned how to throw pots. Went to Orange Coast College and took a course there. Learned how to mix glazes and all the fine arts about pottery making. And so I'm trying to remember when I started sculpting, but somewhere in between there.
Yeah, and so there's several questions raised by what you were just telling me. I mean, first of all, I guess, well, let's start. So that was your first marriage.
Right.
So who did you marry?
It's a lady named Chris McLean. And she had her own beauty salon in Laguna Beach. And I think she originally was from Denver, Colorado. And so in the meantime, you know, I had finished my apprenticeship, and I was a full-fledged printer, and I could go to Hawaii and go to work. I had to, you know, belong to the International Typographical Union, and so I know I could go to the advertiser and start working when I got here.
Is that why you came out to Hawaii to work for a newspaper?
Yeah, well, I mean, I figured that, you know, we came to Hawaii, and we went to all the islands, checked them all out, and then I went to work for the Honolulu Advertiser. I used to work nights setting type, and so she was a model. I used to model with her at the Hawaiian Village Hotel, matching outfits, you know, and I had all these Tory Richard clothes that Mort Feldman tell me, go down, help yourself to the wardrobe there. And so we didn't have to buy clothes at all. had everything there from modeling. We just trade our time for clothes.
And what was Chris like?
Oh, she had her own beauty salon in Laguna Beach, and so she did very well with that. And then we met Barbara Thurston over here in Kona, and so she owned I can't remember the name of the shop here, a dress shop in Kailua. Anyway, she offered my wife a job working for her in Honolulu and doing some modeling and working in, it was called the rickshaw, I think, at the Hawaiian Village, because Kaiser was just getting ready to, you know, get things going there. They just completed uh, um, you know, that new building, the big wing addition to the Ali Ali Kai. And so I went to work for the advertiser, and then we used to model clothes together in Waikiki at the different hotels, Moana and uh, you know, Princess Carolina, the Royal, and
But can you tell us a little bit about Chris? What was she like as a person? What made you marry her?
well, she was very beautiful. She had blonde hair, and she used to cut it have it razor cut. There's a guy named Blaine in Hollywood that was the only one that could touch her hair, but he taught me how to razor cut so that I could cut her hair. And she was always, you know, like a model. She had a good figure for modeling clothes and big smile. And we had a lot of fun together. And she was willing to give up all of her stuff in Laguna Beach and come with me to Hawaii.
Mm.
And it just took off from there. You know,
How long were you married?
gosh, I think it was 10 years.
10 years. And why did you get divorced?
Well, we've gone through a lot together. We started the Kona Steakhouse. We took it over when the place was a complete mess, and they'd lost all this money, and it was like trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear kind of thing. And of course, we're exposed to probably a lot of drinking and running a nightclub and a restaurant at the same time. It's has its wear and tear. And I don't know. I just never could quite figure it out. Except I think I didn't really want to get into this business in the first place, and when I got involved, well, I couldn't let go, and too much power, too much away from the life that we used to lead together. So I used to kid her and say, when you get to be 40, I'm going to trade you in on 220s. And remember when she did turn 40, and I was going with two other girls at the same time. But I don't know. It was hard to say, but I think the restaurant world kind of does that to people. You lose your reality check. And it's very hard to maintain a normal life.
So maybe, you know, we've been going for an hour. So
Oh,
maybe this is a stopping point. You know, I know we've been doing these in 1 hour increments.
okay.
But we've gotten from Duke Ellington to the Kona Steakhouse, so in this version. So if there's anything else you want to say before we close tonight, we can. Otherwise, we can pick it up in a couple of days. Is there anything more that you want to add?
Well, no, it just seemed like life just keeps coming at you, and you go with it or you don't. And so I've been a busy guy, and I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just even the stories that you told tonight, you know, it's clear that you you really find the fullness in life
Mm.
and challenge yourself, you know, especially, you know, in the years that we've been talking about, you know, and a lot of always a lot of change and newness.
Yeah. Well, you know, somewhere in between there, we bought this property on the ocean front, uh, and it was like $10,000 for this little lot. And then I got this beautiful home, and well, it's part of another chapter, I guess. But I love Kona. And Kona has always loved me.
Mm. And okay, so here's the last questions of the night then. I want to ask you, what is it that you love about Kona? And what is it that Kona loves about you?
Well, I love Kona for its beauty and its kindness and love that has always been showered on me. And Hawaii knows that I love her and take care of her too. So it's kind of a mutual exchange of beautiful, beautiful relationship. And you know, you got to go over the limit and not even worry about it. And when you do, that things always seem to work out and in a positive favor. So I've been honest and given my love to this place here, and it's always been good to me and still is. So from a young man with a dark beard to an older man with a gray beard, I still love Kona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the island gave you so many incredible stones and rocks to work with, huh?
True.
Yeah.